Greetings. Welcome to Vampire Church. My name is Moharet. Welcome as I prepare to read the cards today and give a message of inspiration and hopefully a message of hope and encouragement. I sometimes wonder about the validity of these gatherings, these vampire church gatherings, but I trust that the tarot will speak a message from the spirit of the vampire today at Vampire Church, and that we will be uplifted and encouraged and maybe even a little bit delighted at what we will hear. So I just want to introduce the tarot deck. It's the Tarot of Vampire by Ian Daniels and created by Llewellyn. It says in the back, embrace the night. And the Tarot of Vampire. Yeah, so I have the deck here. So without further ado, I will draw some cards and see what the message will be today for us here at Vampire Church. Hopefully a few cards will come out to give us a complete message. There's one. I'd like at least 6 cards for a complete message, please, Spirit of the Vampire. 2. 3. So today is Sunday, the day of the sun. 4, 5, 6. And I'm hoping to create a message for Vampire Church every week, just as a check-in for those who associate themselves with vampire culture. And let me just say that Anne Rice is one of my goddesses. She passed away just recently, and I know there are several types of vampire novels and movies out there, but Anne Rice, in my opinion, captures the spirit of the vampire and the vampires in her novels, in the Vampire Chronicles. So when I speak about vampires, I'm not talking about, Twilight or Dracula, although those each have their place in vampire lore. But I'm more so talking about the Queen of the Damned and Lestat and those type of vampires that I read about in the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. So we have the 5 of Scepters, the Lord of Knives, the 5 of Knives, the 3 of Scepters, the 4 of Grails, and the Chariot. So let me just look at these cards and see what sort of vampiric message will come out for us. There is something about sleeping and the travels that we partake in our sleep with the 5 of Knives. So oftentimes when we sleep, many people will talk about astral travels. I don't know if it's ever happened to you where you are lying in bed in the middle of the night and you perhaps are by a window and you look up at the trees and you look up at the night sky, and for a brief moment, no idea really how long that moment is or how brief it is, but you somewhat lose touch with the idea of time, and you it's like you travel out of your body and you become part of the darkness of the night sky, and you feel like you're flying, you feel like you're floating. And I'm not talking about a feeling that you have when you're on drugs, because this is not a feeling that I have when I'm on drugs. I don't take drugs at the moment, but besides prescription medication. But what I'm talking about is just a disconnect from the physical form, and the idea that the spirit of the vampire maybe doesn't exist in a 3D body, you know, although indeed in the novels they are 3D forms, living dead, who have the dark gift and who are eternal, unless destroyed by another vampire, by the gifts of fire, or the gifts that the ancient vampires possess. Because even a vampire in the Anne Rice novels can be destroyed by an older vampire, or by, if they're a young vampire, going into the rays of the sun and being disintegrated in the rays of the sun. It's interesting that they say that vampires are eternal, although they too have the opportunity to meet their fate. Isn't that interesting? I've never really thought of that before. But all this to say that we are all 3D, but we are also spirit. And when we look into a certain picture, let's say, or a photograph, or out a window, or at a scenery of, let's say, the canyons in Utah, and you stare hard enough at that picture or that vision with this 5 of Knives, and your mind leaves your body and you become disconnected in spirit, and you soar into that image, and you somewhat feel like you could understand what it would be like to be in that picture or in that vision. So that's what I feel like the 5 of Knives here is talking about. That somewhat sort of astral travel, that I don't know if it's actually astral travel or if it's just a sort of astral travel, because oftentimes when you think about astral travel the way other people talk about, they consciously know that their spirit is leaving their body. And for me, it seems like if it is astral travel, I am not conscious of the fact that I'm leaving my body. I'm more so conscious of the fact that I've come back into my body. So we also have other cards here besides the 5 of Knives. We have the 5 of Scepters. And the 5 of Scepters seems to speak about protection and protecting your universe. I'm reading a book called Blood Communion, A Tale of Prince Lestat by Anne Rice. And in this novel, Lestat is speaking with one of the other characters, and his name eludes me right now, but he talks about, Lestat talks about each person being a world unto their own. And when Lestat meets this new character, and this new character talks about when he was created and where he was created in Russia, Lestat reminds himself that each person is a world unto their own. And when you say a person is a world, you mean they have a story unlike any other person that you've ever met. And they have a whole story, a whole world of information based on what they've experienced and what they've learned in their lives. And that if you destroy somebody, you destroy their world, you destroy the universe that is them. And the 5 of Scepters kind of speaks about like protecting your world, protecting your world. And Lestat is quite surprised that this other vampire in this book, Blood Communion, is so ready to tell Lestat about where he was made and when he was made and how he was born, that Lestat is kind of taken aback, and he mentions that most vampires that he meets aren't so willing to give out information, but that this character that Lestat meets is so trusting. And I guess it just feels like a lesson that perhaps not everybody is worthy of our world. Perhaps not everybody is worthy of our story, of our universe. And to read the energy of the strangers that you meet or the conversations that you partake in, and pick and choose who you let into your world. So we also have 4 other cards here. We have the 4 of Grails. Now the 4 of Grails feels to me like passion and hunger and drive and determination. The 4 of Grails, those things that you do in life that fulfill you, that satisfy you. And of course, Lestat mentions in one of his books that many vampires are chosen because of their beauty. And the 4 of Grails somewhat speaks of guarding your beauty. And of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? When you see somebody and you initially see what they look like, you are able to judge by your own volition whether or not you find that person to be physically attractive. But it's more than that. It's something else that you see within the person that radiates light, that radiates goodness or strength or determination or intelligence or life energy, libido. So the 4 of Grails is that energy that we thrive on in our own lives, that we see. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, because what you see to be beautiful is what you deem to be beautiful within yourself. It's like a mirror reflection. The 4 of Grails is like a mirror reflection, like looking into a mirror, like looking at yourself. And every human can be beautiful. And there are some who are stunning. Let's not forget about that. And of course, the 4 of Grails speaks about those rituals that we partake in to keep ourselves youthful and vibrant and healthy and vigorous and full of life and full of intelligence. Reading, filling your mind with good information, eating good foods, partaking in certain things only moderately, as to not destroy your health or your body. So the 4 of Grails with this picture here, it feels like the energy of thirst, the energy that when we see somebody that we deem to be beautiful, ravishing, attractive, we feel encouraged. If we are not embittered with jealousy or greed, we are encouraged. If we don't see somebody and hate them because they're beautiful, if we see somebody and say, that's encouraging, that person has a lot of passion for life. When I talk to them, they have a lot of knowledge. I think I want to take a class or read a book or study something or research something. This person is so fit. I think I want to start to walk more or start to jog or do some weights. This person has radiant skin. It seems they have a good skincare routine. I think I want to start exfoliating or putting cream on my face or drinking more water. So the 4 of Grails is for us those thirsts that we long for, that create that youthful energy, that vibrant youthful energy within us. So we have 3 other cards. We have the Chariot. And the Chariot is that energy of movement, right? I don't know if you've ever heard that saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, the Chariot is that energy of continuing to move forward, continuing to progress in life. Of course, there are times when progression means slowing down and resting, but it also means keep the movement going. It's like the laws of physics, right? An object in motion stays in motion. And so if you keep the gears of your brain turning by constantly challenging yourself, if you keep your body moving by listening to your Fitbit when it tells you to do 250 steps and get up and walk, you know, if you practice a regular routine of cooking a healthy meal so that you have something to eat that's good for you, at least a few times a week, you know. The Chariot is that energy of deciding to be disciplined, right? Deciding to bring our left brain together with our right brain and moving in unison with those two halves of us, the half of us that wants to lay down and die, and the half of us that wants to get up and move and live, because we all go through those periods, and that kind of feels like the Lord of Knives. We all go through those periods where we just want to crawl under a blanket and not pay attention to the world, or you know, go to sleep and never wake up. Or, you know, we all encountered times in our lives with the Lord of Knives where we feel somewhat disconnected from life. And the Chariot tells us that it's important to keep moving when we can, and to, with the Three of Scepters, to create a space for ourselves within our own minds or within our own environments where we are constantly receiving back the energy that we put into the life that we live. The Three of Scepters here is talking to us about the energy of when you put something out into the universe, there has to be an equal reaction, right? Every in the laws of physics, like rising from the ashes, right? In the laws of physics, every reaction has an equal reaction, right? So it's just a part of the universe that if you put a certain energy out there, no matter what the currency is, the energy will come back to you, perhaps in a different currency with the Three of Scepters, but it will come back to you, because the laws of the universe are that everything has to be in balance. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying that somebody once decided through scientific research that if the sun was just a little bit closer, like a centimeter closer to the earth would burn up. And if the sun was just a meter or a centimeter or an inch farther away from our solar system, the earth would freeze up and die, and we would go into an ice age. I don't know how far it is, perhaps a centimeter, perhaps a millimeter, perhaps a meter, but it's nothing very significant in the grandeur of the universe and our galaxy and our Earth and the planets, that the greatness of the planets. So when I say that, it's because I mean that, you know, nothing just happens for no reason. Not everything happens for a reason. And I am one of those people that believes that in predestination, that there wasn't a God that decided for us how our life would turn out outside of ourselves. We are the gods who decided before we incarnated on this planet what the story would be and what the variables would be that would play into our lives, and how each story would play out detail by detail. And so just like the sun is at the perfect distance from the earth so that the earth can flourish and have the seasons and the balance of the ecosystem. Of course, we do talk about global warming, but ultimately natural disasters have always existed, perhaps more so now than before. I'm not sure about that. I don't really research that sort of thing. I hear about it in passing, but it's all just to say that every detail in our life has been decided by us. And the Three of Scepters is, since every detail has already been decided and we are simply playing out the script of our lives that we wrote back before we incarnated to Earth, every detail matters, just like the details of the distance from the sun to the Earth. And that if every detail matters, then whatever you put into this life, every bit of that will come back to you equally, in equal amounts. And like I said, perhaps in a different currency, right? Perhaps you give a homeless person $5, $10, and maybe you won't get those $5, $10 back in money, but maybe somebody will bake you cookies for your birthday. And that is the equivalent of you giving something out and somebody else giving you something back, where the universe is returning to you something that you gave away, because the universe is you, right? We had that conversation when we were talking about the 5 of scepters, right? Destroying a universe. If you destroy someone's life, you are destroying a universe. And that universe is a part of the ecosystem of universes that are here on this planet, right? It's like if you destroy too much of a certain species, then that species becomes extinct. And if that species is extinct, let's say a bug or an animal, a small rodent, or it could be bigger, a certain tree, right? A certain type of tree or a flower or a plant, or even a certain type of indigenous groups. If you destroy something, then you create an imbalance in the universal ecosystem, right? If you destroy a certain insect that keeps another sort of insect in control, then you build a problem. And that's kind of like it is with the five here of scepters, where the scepters are fire. So if you destroy someone's fire, someone's life energy, you take a person's life, or you destroy it completely by talking bad about them and telling them horrible things about themselves and destroying their confidence, let's say, then you are actually causing an imbalance in the universe. And that imbalance is due to you destroying that universe, that person, that world. And if you destroy the world of another person, then the universe is going to destroy your world, because you are bringing the universe out of balance by destroying the universe that is beside you, when you are equal universes living in harmony on this earth. So it sounds a little bit, maybe a little bit out there, but that's what I'm getting here at Vampire Church with this Blood Communion novel by Anne Rice, The Tale of the Prince Lestat, The Vampire Chronicles is. And I'm gonna get it out. I have the book here, Anne Rice, Blood Communion, A Tale of Prince Lestat, The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. So I want to read this part in the book. I'm just going to find it. All right, so here it is. This is from Anne Rice's novel Blood Communion, page 23 of chapter 3. Okay. No need to be concerned at all, I said. I looked about the room. Too many topics of conversation pressed in on me, and I tried to find some order. What had we been talking about? Enemies. I didn't want to talk about enemies. I started to talk about all that I saw before me. The inevitable Philadelphia wing chairs flanking the marble fireplace, and a tall secretaire punctuating the bookshelves. A lovely piece with inlaid designs and mirrored doors above the flap of the desk. He was at once brightly happy over this, and something mad occurred to me, that every single time I ever encountered another blood drinker in friendship, it was as if I were meeting entering an entire world. Seems I'd read somewhere or heard it in a film that the Jews believe each life is a universe, and if you take a life, well, then you are destroying a universe. And I thought, yes, this is true of us. This is why we must love one another, because we are each an entire world. And with blood drinkers, there were centuries of stories to tell, millennia of experiences to be related and understood. So that's from Anne Rice's novel, Blood Communion. So that's why I kind of got onto this, this conversation of universes. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed Vampire Church today, and I will hopefully see you next week. Blessed be.